Greetings, everyone. My name is Slayheim. I'm joined here by my good friend Crux, and this is going to be our first episode of this podcast here. And it's going to focus on gaming because gaming is really important to both of us. And yeah, so, dude, I just want to start. Basically, how did you get started with gaming? What was your first game, or like, what was your first exposure to it?
Yeah,
That's how I want to start this out here.
yeah. So greetings everyone. I just want to say hello too. My name is Crooks, and I streamed on Twitch and had a YouTube channel in the past, and now we're turning the stones and bringing up bringing up some fun times in the past. But to kind of kick it off, I do when I was younger, I immigrated from Cuba to America, and in Cuba there weren't really like game systems or anything like that at the time. This was like 1996 when I came over here. And probably a few years after being here, I had a family member that like found like a Super Nintendo, and I think that's the first, if I remember correctly, that's the first like system I ever really played. And it was like simple games, and I'll call them simple games because there wasn't a level of complexity in these video games like there are now, right? Um, and it was like basically like just Super Mario, just running around, hitting stuff and jumping on creatures and splashing them or whatever. But yeah, that was the very first game I ever got into or ever played and kind of kicked off my intrigue on video games for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. I just want to say for me too, it was also exposure to Super Mario. I don't know exactly which one, but it was from the Super Nintendo, and that's when I got fascinated. There were some kids that used to live down my street in Bulgaria. So, well, in Bulgaria, it was difficult to get imports as well. So you just kind of had to play whatever you had, but these kids had Mario, and they also had that duck hunt or whatever, like with the guns. They basically had
Yeah,
like the whole thing, man.
yeah.
So, dude, so I would go over there and just like the sights, the sounds, and being able to interact with this thing. It was almost like not exactly a movie, but it was like, oh man, it's Super Mario on the screen. The music is like very iconic, and you can also interact with it, so you could kind of create your own experience. Also,
Yep.
too, in Bulgaria, my dad used to take me to these. They used to be like these. They call them internet cafes. So
Yeah.
you would pay like a certain amount of money to use the computer for like an hour or a couple hours, whatever. So they used to have these like Soviet knockoff games of like Street Fighter or like whatever it was. It would be this like weird generic janky ass games, dude. And
Oh man.
and I just got so fascinated, man, because it was almost like a portal to this other world of like video games, and there used to also be a tank game, like a Soviet tank game where it was kind of like Pac-Man, but it was with tanks, kind of like you navigate tanks and like
Okay.
destroy them. So I was just like, wow, this is awesome. So that was
Yeah.
my first exposure to Super Mario. Yeah.
It's really funny because as I played those games and stuff, and computers, like a personal computer became more of a thing inside the home, right?
Yeah.
There was a few like computer games that came out for that as well, right? You had the simple ones, like Solitaire, Minesweeper, all that stuff, but there was also like these other like little indie ones too. And I remember playing, and it's so funny you say something about the Soviet tanks because I remember playing a game. It was like basically tanks at two sides of a battlefield. It was like a 2D game, but
Yeah.
you had to like find your trajectory to try to
Yeah.
hit the other tank, and you could hit
Yeah.
like the floor out from under them and stuff. It was so funny. But
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
remember playing too.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. Um, wow. Yeah, man, it's just like it's just memory lane. I don't remember the specific names and whatnot. There was also this one, it was really famous. It was like a Russian game called New Pagodi. It was this like wolf, and you kind of have to catch eggs. There's like two hens on one side or chickens, and they're laying eggs and dropping eggs from the left and the right. And you have this basket, and you have to try to like catch as many eggs, and it was fun. So
It's awesome the evolution of video games, man.
yeah, and it's crazy. Yeah, if you think about it, just from that time, like in the mid to late 90s, I mean, even before, but for me, it started in the mid to late 90s, and then to where we are today, it is crazy.
Oh
Now,
yeah, it's insane.
um, so, okay, so once you you moved over. And so was your first console a Super Nintendo? Like
Yeah,
that you owned? Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It was like
Interesting.
somebody, a friend of my parents, kind of like either bought it or found it, and they kind of got it for me because they know that the kids like video games, obviously, and I think that was like
Yeah.
that was their first mistake.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yeah, for me, my parents were always kind of cautious of that stuff growing up too, and we didn't have a lot, so whenever I was growing up here in the US, man, honestly, it would just be like I would go over to kids' houses, um, friends from school or whatever, and I would play like Mortal Kombat was another big one, like
Oh
exposure
yeah,
to Mortal Kombat in the early days, Tekken, just like those early fighting games.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it.
I was gonna say too, like when I was growing up, when I lived in Miami here in the U.S., like I didn't have too many friends to go, over and play video games and stuff like that, and do like some couch co-op and shit like that. But
Yeah.
what ended up happening was later on, I think the first PlayStation came out, and this was like late 1990s, right? Early
Hmm.
2000s, if I remember correctly. But
Hmm.
once that came out, it was like a whole different level of video game, right? Because you're used to those 2D models and stuff like that on, like, I was used to it anyways on the Super Nintendo, and then all of a sudden the first PlayStation comes out, and the games that were on there, when you just mentioned Tekken, I spent like very first Tekken, I spent hours playing. There
Yeah.
was another genre that it was a fighting game, and I'm not sure if you've ever played this, but it was called Bloody Roar, and it was
I've heard of
it,
it,
it
but I
was
haven't played it.
it was basically, it was a fighting game where these people could turn into like these like weird like bipedal animals, right? So like, somebody could turn into like a wolf and bite the guy in the chest and then throw him on the other
Yeah.
side. And it was like extremely bloody for the time, right? It was like really, really gory.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention the funny part is I played those games for hours, and my parents never never had an idea what the hell was going on in the game. They're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, my son's tearing people up in the game, no problem. And I was like a little kid.
Yeah. It's crazy, like the level of gore in those early days. And, even now, like as we get older, we kind of realize those companies capitalized on a lot of that stuff. So, like, okay, Mortal Kombat was popular or whatever. So let's just make all this other stuff. There was one called, what was the name of it? It's right on the tip of my tongue, but it was basically like a Mortal Kombat spin-off. Um, that was
Fighting
really
game?
fun too. Yeah, it was a fighting game. It had this. It's gonna come to me. It's on the
Yeah.
tip of my tongue. But another thing too, man. Like anytime we would go, we had a brief stint in California. There would be grocery stores. So you know how sometimes they have these little like arcade machines in a corner. So I would
Yeah.
like get some exposure to the games from the arcade machines. Walmart. Like right when you walk in Walmart arcades. CC's Pizza had one. Those were the good old
Yep.
days. And so, but man, for me, I never really had a console at all until I was a
No?
sophomore in high school. And my very first console, I kind of went backwards a little bit. I skipped, it was Nintendo 64, right before like the second wave of consoles came out. So I went from a Nintendo 64, and it was just like, I still have even some of my old games, but I played the Mario game, Super Mario N64. That
Yeah, yeah.
that was very
That's
memorable.
the one you can go through the paintings to enter
Yeah,
the world, right? That was an awesome game. Yeah.
yeah, that was really
And
cool.
yeah, and I think I owned consoles up until, I want to say, actually that's not true. I did have computer. I played computer games in like the early 2000s. Like one thing that got me very much into the whole Warcraft universe was Warcraft 3.
Hmm.
I played the crap out of that. I even had friends in school that were really into it. We had like local tournaments that we won one at one point. Like we were super into it.
Man, that's awesome. That's what I
Yeah.
want to get to as well. It's just like MMOs, because that was how I got like really really sucked in.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but man, last point I want to make about like the just the early consoles was like you even mentioned couch co-op. That was so fun because I had a buddy of mine. I still keep up with him to this day, but he was my neighbor in the apartment, so I would come over to his house and we would just play. He had everything, PlayStation, whatever. He had like all
Yeah.
the games, so I would play with him. But man, my favorite console of all time, if I had to pick one, would be PlayStation 2. My dad, he's a truck driver, and I think he had like a shipment of PlayStation 2s at the time. I was gonna wear this hat actually. I have this like old
Oh, nice.
PlayStation 2 hat. I was gonna wear this today, but the lighting's kind of weird in here, and I'm not a big hat person anyway, but I always kept this hat. But dude, like RPGs in general, it was amazing because it was like these incredible stories. Like you go through like the Final Fantasy series. That's really
Yeah.
what solidified my love for gaming. But I remember playing Final Fantasy VII, and I didn't have a memory card on PlayStation 2. So I remember I would just go as far as I can and like leave the console on, or like, when you die, it's just like
Yeah.
hours of time that you might have lost. So that's a
Yep.
really beautiful memory that I had, is just playing like Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 2, because it used to be backwards compatible. I think now they don't do that so much, or at least everything's digital. But yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, they stopped doing the whole backwards compatible thing with PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
They started noticing, like when they launched the PlayStation 3, that a lot of people were buying the newer games. They were just kind of playing the old PlayStation or the PlayStation 2 games. And there's so many awesome games, and I really wish, like, obviously there's like emulators and stuff like that you can buy or you can download on your computer to play like old PlayStation 2 games and stuff like that. But like they kind of lost like I don't know. To me, maybe I'm not a savvy businessman, in the gaming field or anything like that. But I feel like they lost a lot of potential there to leave the backwards compatibility and do something for those older games, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's weird. That's I think that was the first time that I started looking into becoming more of a PC gamer rather than doing consoles, because it just seemed like, oh, now it's a little shisty and you guys want us to buy a new console every time it comes out. I get it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel you. And I think they had an issue with like Blu-rays, or like people burning discs, and I don't know. It was a whole thing with like
Yeah.
licensing. And but dude, yeah, so MMOs, here's another thing. So my family, I remember we purchased like a Hewlett Packard computer, and it was like this like 1990s piece of shit. It was like this big tower computer. It had like, 5 gigs, or I don't know what the specs were back then, like 256 megabytes of RAM. Like it was,
Hmm.
a potato computer, as they say. It
Absolutely.
was like $4,000 or $3,000, whatever. But that was like, we finally had a family computer, man. And that's when I started like downloading everything, trying to gain exposure. And so my very first MMO was EverQuest. It was this game. It was like the grandfather of MMOs. I think they ultimately kind of fumbled the football, because World of Warcraft came out, I think like 2004 or 5, and
Yep.
it just took off from there. At around the time EverQuest was kind of slowing down, they made a huge mistake by creating EverQuest 2 and kind of trying to run that concurrently, and it divided the player base, and they made a lot
Uh,
of crazy decisions. And I think, yeah, that was the time World of Warcraft got super like mega popular. And yeah, MMOs were incredible for
yeah,
me.
man. Yeah. Getting into MMOs was different for me. I didn't know. I don't think I knew what I was getting into, basically, because I played, obviously, like we were talking about couch co-op. Like most of the times I played with other people, it was like, yeah, come over my house or I go over to your house and we play games or whatever.
Hmm.
Or we'd play like, single player games most of the time. But then, when like Warcraft 3 came out, that was like my first kind of, I guess, like exposure to playing with like other people, right? Kind of doing
Hmm.
like oh, I can play against people online, or I can invite my buddy and we can do a team battle or whatever the case is. And then when they were announcing World of Warcraft, I didn't even know what an MMO was. I didn't know. I didn't really play too many RPGs. I had played some Final Fantasies, but those are like those turnstile RPGs, right? It's not
Yeah.
like World of Warcraft literally made such an impact in gaming in general. Like those types of games, those MMOs, made such an impact because it's like almost like the next level of getting lost into another world,
Hmm.
like literally
Hmm.
going into another world.
Yeah.
And that's what got me really into it. Is like, holy crap, this is like a whole another world to explore here in the computer
Yeah.
with my buddies while we're killing shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, and you would say that was like, I mean, you're mostly World of Warcraft. That was your bread and butter, like as far as video games. That was the one you
Oh yeah.
sunk the most time into.
Oh yeah. Oh
Would you
yeah. That was
say?
my heroin, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's like a living, breathing world that's kind of dynamic. There's things going on. You see other people in the world doing stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was really captivating for me as well.
Yeah, it
Um,
was interesting because you're just you get pushed into this to this game in this world or whatever where you can build kind of like there's a community. You build some friendships. There's like the guilds. You can like it was
yeah,
clans in Warcraft 3. Now it's guilds in World of Warcraft, and you join these guilds and you guys all have similar goals that you want to do in the game. And that's the other thing too is like you could have everybody has different goals in the games, and you're able to have them because the game offers so many different types of I don't want to say attractions, but basically like lines that you could follow, I guess.
yeah,
And everybody had similar goals, and you'd set up a guild, set up a raid. I never did any raiding because, to be honest, like that seemed to be very, very cumbersome. In vanilla, anyways, it was like 40-man raids, 40
yeah,
people get together, and you have to like coordinate 40 people. And I think at the time I was way too young, and didn't
yeah.
have the attention span to do that,
Oh man, no,
so I never did.
I understand. I mean, in those days we had a lot more free time, you could say, but even then, I remember having to explain to my family like, um, now I did raiding in World of Warcraft as well, but it wasn't until we got to Burning Crusade. I think I started with like the very last, like sort of the final days of vanilla, like right before Burning Crusade came out. That's when I got into it because I was still playing heavily EverQuest at the time. But just and by the way too, I want to mention this was at a time I had to like beg my dad to give me his credit card information so I could like pay for this monthly sub, and it was just like this whole thing. I was really suspicious about it. It was at $15 a month for EverQuest, but I had to be like, listen, I know I've been playing this for 8 hours, and I'm like, what's that called? Like the dial-up internet, no one could use the phones and
Yeah.
stuff, but it's just like, I know I've been playing for like 8 or 9 hours, but like we're almost done organizing this raid, and we're gonna like go and try to kill this boss, and like, raids would be like almost like multi-day events even. There's
Yeah.
some raids that would go like 20, 30 hours. Like, it's crazy, man. Like,
So
whew.
that's the thing, man, is that it can go on for a long time. Those games offer so much content that you could literally spend your entire day on there
Yes.
playing with your buddies or exploring the world, like. And that was the scary part. And when I was younger and I first started playing World of Warcraft, I didn't it was almost like one of those things where I was like, yeah, I get on every once in a while, I play with my buddies, and then I get off, right? Because I was still young, and then when I was younger I just lived outside, right? Like I
Hmm.
lived outside, but it was one of
Yeah.
those games that like I continued to play, right? I continued to play that game. I continued to, as I grew up and stuff, I still continued to play till I was like 20 something.
Yeah.
And it was after like certain expansions come out and certain like game modes where I'm saying game modes, but it was basically like options in the game to like do PvP and things like that. That's what really captured me because
Yeah.
the competitive side of things was what really got me, right? Like
Yes.
I got it
Yes.
very into that. The rating and the PVE aspect of the game was really fun because it's kind of like one of those things like I could sit there with my friend, talk some shit, kill some stuff, get some items, and then whatever. But the PvP side of things, when I started doing that, that was like I'm talking to some guy I've never met on the phone because we exchanged numbers, which is like my arena partner, and I'm like, yo, at 7 o'clock we gotta get on.
Yeah.
we gotta practice for 4 hours.
Oh man, arenas. Yeah, that's something I really want to dive into. Um, One of the things that World of Warcraft did really well, at least, I mean, I don't know how it is these days, but at least the classic and even the Burning Crusade version was like these contested areas where you see like the
Yeah,
two factions, Alliance and Horde. So there'll be times where you might have to, yeah, like you run into each other, and
yeah.
PvP was, I guess it was optional. Some people didn't want to fight, but like, yeah, some really memorable moments for like dynamic gameplay. It's just like
Oh yeah.
ganking somebody out in the
Oh
open world, dude. And see, another thing too, man, for like we can share these stories and we have these memories, but one of the things that motivate me nowadays, I want to capture some of that footage because I can tell you about it, but I also want to show it. There was one moment I
yeah.
used to play a rogue. I had stealth. I jumped three alliance members. They were out questing, and I just caught them completely by surprise. Was able to kill all three, and it was one of my proudest moments. I was only like level 30 something. It was in that one area with the pirates in classic WoW.
Yeah,
I forget what it's called, but
Stranglethorn Vale.
Stranglethorn Vale. Yep.
Oh, dude,
Um.
I know all the names of at least the classic zones. It's crazy how much like you still remember of the game. You spend
Yeah.
so much time playing it. It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were those memorable moments, and that was the other thing that made World of Warcraft, I think, so pleasing and appetizing for somebody to play was the
Yeah.
fact that there were like these organic interactions that can happen, right?
Yeah.
And they made it that way. They made it like, you run into somebody, yeah, sure, you're gonna be able to attack them if they're on the other faction. Like that's in other games. I don't think even EverQuest. I don't think EverQuest had that.
No. No.
That where there was like an actual open world, a place where like you log on. There's an actual community, an open world to explore, and you have the potential to run into your enemy anywhere you go. Well, in most places, because I know some places are, they're like certain factions, like where your PvP is not toggled and things like that. And yeah, there were servers for people that just wanted the PvE experience, but then there were servers for like sweaties like me that wanted wanted the PvP like real experience, right? And that's really what I started focusing on
Yeah.
after a while of playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Man, so yeah, for the arenas, I remember that was really fun. I remember my buddy of mine, we would just queue up like all night, and the night just whole night escaped us. We were just like messing around trying to learn. It was really fun.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
arenas were interesting, man.
yeah,
That was something that set, a lot of players apart, right?
yes,
Like there was players that were just like insanely good. And I think, I don't know, it comes down to like reaction time and all that, right? And yeah, there was a lot, and there was also a lot of players that it set them apart just because of like, holy crap, you live on this game.
yeah.
Like you can put so much time into this game, it's kind of insane.
Yeah, man, there were some truly legendary players. I got a chance to play with some of them. I got pretty highly rated one season. I think it was season two or three. I did decent. But man, there's some people where you just the coordination first of all too. I'm not sure where like voice chat was at this time. But I remember I saw some of your clips as well, and it's just highly coordinated. You'd be like, okay, he's gonna do this, he's gonna trinket, now stun him, whatever. Like
Yeah,
the coordination and communication was really a big part of it
yeah.
too. And then just too, when you have a really good partner, you can synergize. You kind of know how this person plays, their play style, or
Yeah,
it's
yeah, and the crazy the another again, like I'm the kind of person that I like complexity captures me. When something is complex, I have the personality where I want to conquer that complexity. So in anything, right? It's video games and in life and work,
yeah,
whatever it is. Like if it's
yeah,
complex, like I want to be the one to figure it out, and I push myself to try to figure it out, right? And that's another thing with PvP is like, imagine you're playing chess with someone, and you're playing against each other. Imagine playing chess at hyperspeed. That's
yeah,
kind of what that is. It
mm,
was, you have a kit, a toolkit. Each class has a different toolkit, and one thing too is understanding what that class can do, and knowing that, oh, they just use this cooldown that probably has like a 3 minute cooldown, this ability. Now they have no shield, or they have whatever, whatever ability they're using. You're kind of playing chess a little bit. You're giving some of your abilities up to try to draw out some of theirs,
hmm,
and then you're coordinating with your team. Like you can see in some of my YouTube videos where like we call out like, hey, are you ready? I'm getting in position. We're getting close to this dude. Pull him in. We'll stun him, and we'll start doing our burst rotation. And that's kind of how it is. Like you're coordinating with three people. So I mainly did 3v3s. I did 2v2s as well, but I mainly did 3v3s because those were the most balanced arenas. So you had two DPS and a healer, and basically it was like coordinating, like, is our healer okay, and also can we kill this guy? Like
yeah,
that's what you're trying to coordinate the entire time. And to me, that was that level of synergy and the complexity behind what arenas are, and trying to figure out like, am I going to survive if my healer and if my healer's locked down in a stun lock, or like all that to me was so fun, man. It was so fun. We got into it. We practiced so much to get every little bit of fat trimmed out of our burst rotation, so everything was like extremely fast, executed right on the spot. Uh, that's the thing that really got me in World of Warcraft, and that's when I went down the rabbit hole, like
Hmm.
streaming
Yeah,
and everything else. Yeah.
man. Wow. Yeah, you just brought back a lot of great memories. There was, like those certain players you play against somebody and like, okay, this is a good player. I'm gonna get fucked up if I'm not careful. And there's some people where you just the way they move, and it's like, oh man, I got this guy, whatever.
Yeah.
I remember playing
That-
against really good mages and rogues where you can be completely stun locked, or a mage can like polymorph you, or whatever. They can completely put you out of the fight.
yeah.
It's
And
it's
that's the other aspect of it is, you have the complexity of trying to figure out, trying to how would you say, like, ability match, right? When somebody's using their ability, you use yours, you draw one out, they draw one out, whatever the case is, but you also have that aspect as well, is like you can have somebody completely out of the fight because the three people you're fighting are coordinating to freaking CC this person. So
yeah,
you're just gonna sit there as you're gonna sit there as a sheep, then you're gonna get stunned, then you're gonna get you're gonna go into an ice trap, like, or whatever the case is. It was just like, fuck.
yeah, yeah.
It's so frustrating. But yeah, man, it was so fun. Yeah, I did it so much that the reason I got into streaming was because a lot of my guild mates were like, dude, you should do some streaming, like other guys, other people stream and they stream this content, and you should get on there because like you're doing pretty good and all
Yeah,
that, and that's kind of what led me to start the stream.
that's how you got into streaming. Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Wow. And what time was this? Like when what year or so was streaming? Because I remember streaming was kind of 2015, 16. It was kind of this weird thing, and then it started
Yeah,
gaining traction after
that's
that.
that's around the time I started. It was, I think, 2015 was when I
Wow.
started my stream.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it lasted a couple years. I did like a year, not a couple
Hmm.
years. It was like a year and a half, and then like a little bit on and off here and there. But yeah, 2015, it was something that was pretty new. I
Hmm.
knew that a lot of like really good, I would call them PvPers, but a lot of the streamers that would stream like the PvP content were doing it, and
Yeah.
that's kind of why I didn't even know, honestly, because I didn't go watch them or anything like that. But
Hmm.
my guildmates were telling me like, hey, you should do this. Like, Twitch is a thing, try it out. And that's
Yeah.
when I started it. And I think because it was so new, and I had like such a large guild behind it in a
Hmm.
way, that it kind of took off pretty fast. My channel did anyways.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, it took off pretty fast. It was fun when I was doing it. It was nice to earn some money doing that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you consider returning or just dabbling, maybe even just as a part-time streamer, just occasionally? Not necessarily with World of Warcraft or PvP, but just in general, maybe IRL streams, or anything along those lines on YouTube or Twitch. That was one of the
Yeah.
things I wanted to ask you today too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The channel's still there. It's not like, it's gone anywhere. The YouTube channel is also still there, which now, like, I've removed a lot of videos from the YouTube channel, and
Uh,
I've considered basically like just basically closing the channel down because like
oh,
I don't do anything with it. I still play video games, but now like it's a little different. I have a different relationship with my computer than I do with like my Nintendo Switch, which is kind of sitting back here.
yeah.
So I've been playing, and I'm sorry, this is gonna be a drawn out like
No,
kind
no,
of
no. This is
answer here,
great.
but
This is great.
but I've been playing, the Nintendo Switch and more like couch co-op games with my wife and stuff like that. And I think I'm having more fun doing that and just kind of sharing those moments of an hour, maybe an hour and a half of gameplay, rather than playing a video game on the computer and trying to stream it and stuff like that, where it takes a lot of time. And I think I'm at the stage in my life where I'm just like, I have a different set of priorities of what I want to, you know, sink my time into, right? Because
Hmm.
here's the thing: when you're playing, when I was playing World of Warcraft and I was, playing, the arenas and coordinating with my team and stuff like that, that takes a level of mental energy, right? That you have to provide your best level of mental energy at that point, right? You don't realize it, right? Some people don't realize it, but when you're playing a video game, you're in a heightened state. Like your brain is you're telling your brain to push and make those like split second decisions, on a dime, right? And that's setting you up for like um I'm losing what I'm trying to explain here, but basically you're just, let's say you're operating at a higher state. This is like your couple hours of your best, right? You're using it for the video game.
Hmm.
You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Whereas where I'm playing on the Switch, it's not I don't I'm not it's not that competitive. It's more fun, and you're just kind of doing dumb
Yeah.
stuff and this and that.
Yeah.
I probably
There's no
Go
pressure to
ahead.
be on camera for people or even strangers. You kind of get like, oh, hey, like people are watching. How are you guys doing today? And blah, blah, blah. You kind of have like half of your attention on the chat, let's say, or half on the
Right.
video game. You can't like fully. I think I understand what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and there's a little bit of that, and there's also like what I'm saying is, as far as like, like different priorities, is like I have a very involved career. So like the if I was to stream the same day I worked, I think I'd kill myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd have to put in uh, a heightened
yeah,
version of myself. I have to be very intent. Obviously, like you're saying, you got to interact with the chat. That's a given. And then you also have to think through everything you're doing in the game. That's, and you could do like fun little dumb games and stuff like that
yeah,
and have that interaction too. But I've really lately just been enjoying sitting on the couch, hanging out with my wife, and just playing some video games. Like I still have some computer games that I'll play from time to time, but it's more like solo games that
yeah,
I play for like an hour, 30 minutes, and I'm good.
yeah. I understand. No, that's valuable. Time with your loved ones is a lot more valuable.
Absolutely.
And I kind of got lost in that to some extent. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be a famous streamer. Like it's gonna happen. It's gonna grow. Like we got a couple more new people, and it just takes like a crazy amount of energy in order to do it
Absolutely,
anyway.
man.
And not only that, but even today, like in 2024, it's a lot more saturated today
Yeah.
than it was back in those days. But the concept is the same. And I even like I have some time off right now, so I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I've been having like 5, 6, 10 hour streams just
Oh man.
daily almost. But it's nice to go outside and touch grass, as you say, because it puts you in a weird mental state for sure. And you
Absolutely.
do need to have like a heightened sense of energy too, especially when, I mean, there's people I've seen that stream that are like, they're tired all the time, or you can tell they're not really into the game, and it makes you feel miserable just to watch
Yeah.
sometimes. So,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
I,
I've
I
been
will say, like, look, I love video games. I think they're awesome, and I think that they play kind of an important part in, and I'll say this with as much caution as possible, but I think they play an important part in the development of a young person.
yes.
I think video games, they kind of put a challenge in front of you that you need to overcome. You need to figure out how to like solve this puzzle or solve this issue, right? Which in a way kind of prepares you for the blows you're going to get in life, right? Like you might have a challenge in life that you need to get through, and in a video game you might die 50 times before you can figure out something.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like it kind of gives you that, like you're gonna fail and you just got to try again. You're gonna fail and try again. It gives you that kind of like firsthand experience before you have a challenge. I think that part of video games is great, but it can also suck you into, you know, a completely different world and a different state, and you might drop some values that you
Hmm.
have that you don't no longer are acknowledging because you're doing this, like, this video game thing. The streaming, the reason I quit streaming was because it took so much time. After a while, it was, I didn't find myself really enjoying the games that I was playing because I was streaming, because I was trying to make sure I had enough content for the stream, for my YouTube channel, and all that. And also it was a blessing and a curse. But once you have a sponsor, now you have, it's almost like, oh shit, now I have obligations.
Mm-hmm.
So now it felt like forced when I woke up that morning and I was like, I don't really feel like playing video games today. But now
Yeah.
it's like forced because
Yeah.
you know, you owe this company a certain amount of posts with their advertisement and stuff like that. And that's when it started becoming like shit. Like, yeah, I'm doing this for myself, but I'm working for this company basically. Like
Wow.
that defeated the purpose of what I wanted to do with streaming. I wanted the stream to just be my own thing.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
it kind of got to that point, and that was one of the factors I was like, all right, I'm good with that.
Wow, man. Wow. Yeah. Interesting. And yeah, so yeah, you still do enjoy video games, it's just not on that
Oh
level.
yeah,
You prioritize it with loved ones, kind of almost a reversion to like the true couch co-op, like a true
yeah,
co-op with
it is. Yeah, it
significant
is.
other. That
It is. Yeah,
that's great.
like I was saying, it's like what I've noticed this is recently in my life is like if I get on and let's say I play, and this is gonna be funny because like this is like almost a dead game, but let's say if I play Heroes of the Storm, right? It
Hmm.
takes some coordination to play Heroes of the Storm. It takes you to be kind of on your best game mentally to make sure you hit those abilities at the right time, to make sure you avoid the you know you kind of think ahead of what the enemy's gonna do, this and that, coordinate with your team. If I was to get up in the morning and play that and then go and study for a test, I'm not bringing my best to the study, to the study portion. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
I zapped probably 2 of my best hours in that day playing the video game.
Yes.
So the reprioritization in my brain is I do what I have to do first, and the video game is then my reward. Rather than how I was doing it, where with streaming there was no choice. I woke up, I had to stream for about 6 hours or more to get that kind of the exposure and the presence in Twitch, right? At the time, that was kind of like the ideal. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm like streaming and all this stuff, by like once I got off the stream, I was like, man, I'm tired, and all I did
Yeah.
was play video games, you know. But
Yeah.
it's draining. It is draining to you because you're forcing your body to put out your best at the time,
Yeah.
right?
No, I definitely get that feeling, man. There's times where it's hard for people to understand sometimes, but it's true. Like some of the most tired I've ever been is like after like a good stream, let's say. There's people in there,
Yeah,
you're talking, everything's great. A few hours go by and you're just like, yeah, mentally and physically exhausted
yeah,
somehow.
man.
Maybe more
Yeah,
mentally, of course, but
you're
yeah.
definitely like mentally drained. And then you finish your stream, and let's say you stream for 6 or 8 hours, and then you're sitting there having to edit a YouTube video to post up. So it was like good 12-hour days you'd put in. That I was putting in at least 6 days a week.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and all on top of having, real life,
Oh yeah.
work, other obligations,
Yep.
school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
Um, you, you good? You want to keep going to take a break? Anything?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay, excellent. What else did I have? That was a lot of what I wanted to touch on. I didn't want, yeah, and I didn't want to keep it mostly gaming focused this episode, unless we venture out into other categories. Um, well, what are you playing currently? Is there anything that you're playing currently?
Yeah, so currently, like I was telling you, I'm playing the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Because I bought my wife a Nintendo Switch, so currently I'm playing a lot of Nintendo games like Smash and Mario Kart and stuff like that. We're just like like I said,
Hmm.
we basically chill. My wife works from home as well.
Hmm.
We both we both have jobs that are pretty demanding with both of us. So like we'll play, and then like our little like fun time at night is to just kind of hang out on the couch here on the futon and just play some Mario Kart or play some Smash or whatever, Rocket League. Just play those little fun games that you there's no daily quests. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That could take you up to 3 hours or whatever.
Hmm.
We play for an hour, play for 2 hours max,
Yeah.
and then we're off to do something else. But it's nice because it's something that we both share together.
Mm.
And I enjoy that I love that she loves it, so that we, it's a thing that we both do. Rather than, okay, I'm gonna go play World of Warcraft, and she might play a different game here, on her PC.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's really about it. I did get the new Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora game, which is absolutely beautiful.
Heard that was
We've
good.
played that. Yeah, we've played that just a little bit. Not much on it. Like I said, it's difficult to want to get back on my computer after I've been on my computer all day working.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the difficult part.
Yeah. And just a thought that I have with MMOs, and I shouldn't say MMOs in general, like I'm a connoisseur of every single MMO, but it's one of those things where you choose a game, whether it's EverQuest or
Mhm.
World of Warcraft, and you invest so much time and energy into that, like even years, let's say. And for me personally, there were times like I played EverQuest for years, World of Warcraft for years, and then Final Fantasy 14. That's been my latest poison, although I'm kind of at a hiatus from that now, but while you're dedicating yourself to all this time, there's other games coming out, like single player games and whatever. So I went through a phase where I missed out on so many games that I never got a chance to play. So I have this
Yeah.
like giant backlog that I'm slowly but surely going through. But man, for me, like that's how I define myself. Anytime someone's like, like what are you really into? Like movies, books, whatever, like that's part of it too, but the majority of like what I really enjoy is gaming. So I'm slowly trying to get through these adventures or stories because I like
Yeah.
story driven like narrative experiences. But
Hmm.
like we always talk about, time is just kind of an issue for me as well because I'm kind of at a,
Yeah.
like mid 30s, just kind of trying to get into like a career life, whatever.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
gets
tough.
difficult, man. It gets difficult. We don't have those summer breaks like we used to have, where you're not working, and all your buddies are also playing the same games that are coming out, and like all these game developers, they strategically plan to launch their game during that summertime so everybody can
Yeah.
get it and play the crap out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that time,
Definitely.
and as fun as they are, because they are. I mean, they truly are. They're fun as hell. As you get older, priorities change, and you start, you realize, like, damn, like I can't sink that much time into this. It has to be,
Yeah.
if this is gonna be my enjoyment, like at least the way I think about it is like if this is gonna be my downtime and my enjoyment time, and like I have to cut it down to it has to
Yeah.
be on a game that I'm not gonna get sucked into.
Hmm.
Like that, like the MMO games, RPG games and stuff like that. It's like it's literally in the name, like role playing games, right? Like you're literally going in and you're like clocking into work. I'm like, all right, here I am, a Windwalker monk, ready to fuck some guys up in an arena. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I saw that
So like
you
you're
had a lot of Windwalker guides on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. So
Um,
one of the reasons that my channel popped off, I think, and this is just my speculation, has nothing to do with anything that I saw, but uh, there weren't a lot of people playing Windwalker monks at the time, at the level that I was playing it at. Right, there was a few people that were like exceptional Windwalker monks and were doing great in arenas and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the reasons too why the stream popped off as well, because like people, it was fun to play a Windwalker monk because a lot of people couldn't play them that well. It was a newer class, and it
yeah,
was
I remember.
yeah, 1v3s. All of a sudden, like they're like, hey, this guy's like 1v3ing people, like what's going on? Like people started checking it out and coming into the stream. And at the time I had like a, and I still do, I have like a bubbly personality at the
Hmm.
time. It was very interactive, funny stuff was happening. I had a bunch of friends that I played with, and it was fun, like for people to to listen to our banter and stuff on the stream. So
Hmm.
it popped off. I think that was something that very very much contributed to that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And another thing too, it's great that you were able to realize this so early, like the danger of becoming like obsessed and going down rabbit holes to where it can detract from your personal life or, your self-improvement or, whatever. Um,
Yep.
but it's great you can also still find time occasionally.
Oh yeah.
Do you still keep do you know if your former guildmates or like PvP partners, did they continue playing, and did they are they still playing PvP, or
Yeah, I don't know specifically if they're still playing World of Warcraft or anything like that, but I know that if if I was to log on to Battle.net right now, they'd hit me up because we spent so much time playing, playing the game, trying to hone each other's skills, kind of giving each other like really harsh feedback and not
yeah,
like arguing. You know what I'm saying? It was like it
yeah,
was very constructive because we'd be like, "Hey, you keep fucking up this rotation," or whatever, and it was like the other way back too, right? Like if I fucked something up, he would let me know, and
yeah.
it was that kind of it was cool because we've never met in person, but
Hmm.
we were playing every day together, right, and trying to get better and trying to make each other better. So
That's
if
a
I was to
beautiful
log on
thing
there,
about PvP. That's a beautiful thing about it. It's
oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was some real friendships, like real conversations we would have and things like that. But yeah, like I said, if I was to get on, they would hit me up. If I saw them on there, I'd be like, "Yo, what's up?" Like it. I don't know if they're still playing World of Warcraft because I haven't played in a very long time. The last time I played was probably 6 months ago now, and I
wow.
was just messing around in Classic, and that was about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really kept in touch like that. We don't like text or call or anything, but when we do see each other on like Discord or
Hmm.
BattleNet, we're like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, man, that's great. You know, so Final Fantasy is my MMO, and there is so I'm taking a break now myself because I'm focusing on all this other stuff, and also it's not the same without the same people. You know, I'm sure you can understand, like when you log into World of Warcraft, there's like a sea of all these other players just maybe standing around in town or
Yeah.
whatever, and you don't really have those same connections. So, but for me, so there's another expansion that's getting ready to come out this summer for Final Fantasy 14, which I'm going to get into. But for me, like the longer I'm away from the game, the harder it is to get back into it. Do you ever get that at all?
Yeah. So the thing with with these large MMOs, and I experienced this in World of Warcraft, and I remember it being a a harsh reality of it, right? Is the and it's part of why people play it so much too. But when you're off the game continues. Everything continues without you. It's like literally like
Yeah.
you imagine you going to sleep for a day at a time or 2 days, 3 days, like a full 24 hours of you just not existing in reality. Everything else moves along, and then you come back and you're like shit. I'm like
Yes.
back here, like oh crap. So
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why World of Warcraft continues to have those almost like pseudo addictions on players because that's part of it is like we're gonna continue moving this game forward where like other video games, like here's the disc, the game's
Hmm.
in here, have fun, right? Like you do
Yeah.
your own thing in
Yeah.
this disc that doesn't get any updates, doesn't get anything new added to it. This is what you get, maybe a DLC, but it's not in the frequency of World of Warcraft, right? They're constantly changing stuff. They're constantly coming out with a expansion. They're constantly rebalancing classes. So now you play your class a little bit different. Now the meta spec is very different than what it was in the last expansion or the last patch or whatever the case is, right? They have so much of that keeps people like heavily addicted to the game,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You're just it's like the fear of missing out. Like shit, what am I missing out on right now? Like my
Fear of missing out,
character's
exactly.
yeah, my character is stuck in time. Everybody else is getting their gear and getting their resources or whatever the case is, and I'm over here just like not logged in. I gotta log in and do all this. That's part of that. That's the other thing that I realized with World of Warcraft and games like that, where it's like I don't want to be handcuffed to a game because of these mechanics or these things, right? I want to just get on and play the game whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's a beautiful thing, just stress free, no obligations, no commitments. You're just enjoying being in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the same for me too, yeah. Especially like raiding. It's takes such a big time investment, and you gotta fail for hours and hours and
Hmm.
hours to glean stuff, and yeah, It's great, man. This was great. This was pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I did have like some notes, but we touched on basically all the points, man.
Yeah,
This was great. I've never done anything like this, so I
yeah, this
appreciate
is
you.
our first, man.
Yeah. One of the things too for gaming, is like, see, for me, I just get sucked into this rabbit hole to where like the real life world feels like fake to me. The video game world is what's real, and that's where I want to be. So it's like I just wasted all day, and I wouldn't say wasted, because man, here's another thing too, though, with video games. I You can't tell now, but like English is not my first language. And for me, like EverQuest was text based initially.
Yeah,
It was like a text based, it was a MUD, they called it, even before MMOs, a multi user dungeon. So,
yeah,
like, it's like you go and here's this skeleton. Like the skeleton hits you for 2 damage. Like you hit the skeleton back. Like
yeah.
you turn this corner and you find this. Like you open the treasure chest and this is this. Like literally everything was like spelled out, or like a quest giver. So like for me, I had to read and I was forced to read, and it really like helped me, man. Like I'll be honest, like it helped me to learn English, and like my
Hmm.
I don't have like this huge vocabulary, let's say, but I feel like it improved my speaking capabilities, or
Yeah,
it improved my vocabulary. there's there's
same here,
there's
man.
good things in video games, and even like how you touched on the yeah, there's a puzzle placed in front of you. It's really good for development, if you can
It
figure it
is.
out. It makes or breaks certain people, because some people
That's
give up like, oh, this is whatever.
yeah.
And
That's the thing is if you want to continue to play, if you want to continue to play the video game, you have to get past these challenges. And really, the only way you get past these challenges is like, you fight your way to the final boss, and then that final boss is kicking your ass. But you figure
mhm,
out after 4 or 5 tries, like, oh, I got to be doing this
mhm,
to be getting them right.
yeah,
That's the next time you fight that boss, you know how to beat him. So the next time a challenge like that comes up, you're already prepared.
mhm,
You've matrixed yourself without plugging the thing in the back of your head and
yeah,
getting all the data. It's basically just that's how humans work. That's how a brain works.
man,
So
it's
yeah,
amazing.
I think it's important. I think it's important to highlight that. I don't think video games. Are you back on here?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
perfect. Uh,
yeah,
no, I don't think video games should receive a bad rap. I think they're actually really, really helpful. And like you were saying, I English is not my first language either. But because of the typing, the text based kind of like video game, like Warcraft 3 was all text based. Obviously, like I'm typing, talking to people. Um, World of Warcraft immediate or initially was also text based. Like I learned a lot of vocabulary and meanings of certain words that I wouldn't have otherwise learned.
hmm,
Maybe I would have learned it in school, but then it would have, I would have forgotten it. Whatever.
yeah,
But as far as like development, helping development, I think that video games should get a bit of a better rap. It's not just somebody sitting there wasting their time. Like, to be honest, like if harnessed correctly, they're actually going to be a little bit more, resilient whenever a challenge comes up in their life and they fail or whatever, take criticism because you're doing it constantly in your video game. You're constantly dying. You're constantly like, oh, I got to respawn. I got to try this again in a different way.
hmm,
It's kind of like that in life too.
hmm. And yes, I agree. Video games have changed a lot, but man, there's certain ones where it's like the Dark Souls series, for example. That's one of my favorite game series of all time. If I didn't, there's certain experiences that I've had. If I didn't play these games, I wouldn't be the same person that I am today. But one thing that these games teach you to do is like you realize through like suffering and adversity, you become better.
Yeah,
The game teaches you to become better, because if you don't learn like, okay, I have to dodge this at this time, or I have to like go here and do this, like you will fail every single time. Like you have
yeah,
to learn. You have to learn. But then you realize like I'm the one that got better. The game is like, and see now, like it arms you with that knowledge. So once you have the knowledge, you can go through it easily. So that's the thing with like the Souls
Yeah,
games. They're quote unquote easy if you know like what to do. So like you realize like you're the one that's improving. It's not the
right.
game getting easier. It's you
It's
getting
you.
better.
Exactly.
It's such a
The game
beautiful
is
thing.
static. Absolutely. I
Yes,
completely agree.
static.
The game is static. The game is like I'm gonna operate within these parameters right here.
Yes.
In between here there's a scrambled mess and you have to put this together and figure out how to get from here to here, right? So what's beautiful about it is you said it perfectly. You're the one that's actually improving, and that's almost a cheat code for some people that understand that, right? Like as you're playing the video game, you're the one improving. It's basically a cheat code for you for dealing with something difficult in your life as well, at work or whatever. It's great, man. I think I still enjoy video games, and I still love. I'll watch videos of these new video games coming out, and I'm like, oh man, that looks great. But I know how much time I'll sink into it, you know. So I don't dabble. But I think the video games that are coming out now are so much more complex, and there's so much more going on that humans are developing a certain level or a certain threshold of being able to take this like take complexity, right, and be resilient against complex issues that I mean honestly, like look how many young kids play these crazy complex video games and then become like software developers or software engineers and
Hmm.
develop these crazy apps and stuff like that. Like I think that has something to do with it, right? Like you're thrown into at a young age to this heightened level of complexity where you have to solve these problems that are like pretty fucking hard, and then you get into coding software where somebody can look at it and just see a bunch of freaking numbers and then go, "What the hell is this?" But that person, that kid that's been solving these problems in Dark Souls, let's say, they know they're gonna code a line of code 50 times before it actually works.
Yeah,
You know, like
man.
they're on it.
Yeah, it's incredible. That's why I still really appreciate and enjoy video games. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, don't
absolutely.
get me wrong. There's bad ones. There's really scummy like microtransactions and like predatory
Yeah,
stuff to get you to spend, 500 bucks on something. But in general, like there's really good things, and it's to me, it's just the one of the best mediums of like storytelling and everything. It's just I don't know, man. It's this like neat package of like music, experience, graphics,
yeah,
whatever. It's
yeah.
it's 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 great. So yeah,
Yeah, you're
it's
basically playing through a story. You know, you're the main character of a movie that you're playing through. You know, that's the coolest part is like for example, The Witcher 3.
hmm
Like that's one of the coolest games cuz you're kind of going through the story of this guy, right? Or like God of War. God of War was a game that I played forever on
I
on
love
the console.
I love God of War. I love God of
Yeah.
War. Yeah,
God of War is the same way. You know, you're going through the story of Kratos and by the time you get to the end, you're like, man, my man Kratos got the sour end of the stick, man. You know, like
yeah,
whatever. But that's the captivating part of it too. Is like as you're fortifying your brain and learning and figuring out these puzzles, you're also kind of like having fun and playing through like a story and like reading a book. And I say that in quotations. You're like reading the story, right? But you're
hmm
playing it out. It's kind of cool.
yeah. It's very interactive. It's awesome. Um, wow, wow. Um, man,
So what about you? Let me ask you a couple questions.
yeah,
How's
yeah.
what are you thinking for the future of your stream? Like where do you see it going?
See, man, here's the thing. Like, I'm glad you asked me that because I'm an aspiring, and I hate using the term content creator. Let's say, I went through several different phases. I'll be honest. Like, I first created my channel thinking I would be playing like this Final Fantasy VII remake, but for me, ultimately, I mean, this is a whole other thing, but like, they strayed so far from what the original game was and like what the message was, like the themes of the game. It was about like life and hope and like dealing with loss and like it was all these things. And the new game, they started going through, there's all these different timelines. They started incorporating time travel and different possible scenarios, and it was this whole thing. So I didn't enjoy it as much. So I was like, well shit, now what do? I don't want to spend time like hating on the game. I try to be positive. I'm a very like it's something I'm working on, but I'm a very pessimistic and negative person sometimes. So I've always wanted to have a variety channel, which I've heard doesn't work so much these days. It's better for the algorithm to like stick to one particular thing, whether it's World of Warcraft or, Final
Yeah.
Fantasy or whatever. So I just fought hard against it. So I'm trying my best to just have a variety channel with like these narrative story driven experience that I never got a chance to play because I was focusing so much on EverQuest, on World of Warcraft before. So it's a variety channel, but strictly with gaming. So, dude, honestly, I wouldn't. I'm not sure if I would call it a plan for the channel or whatnot, but I just want to enjoy these things and showcase my passion, I guess, for or my. You know how like you can only have a first experience once. Um,
Yeah.
so I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for the first time. I played Witcher 3 on stream for the first time, Days Gone. Just like some of these games I never got a chance to play and just, if someone wants to come and hang out, then that's great. I kind of feel like maybe my personality is unique, and I mean we're all unique, but a lot of people come for the game. Like, let's say, I really like Witcher 3, so I'm going to check out some streams and see who's streaming it. And for me, it's grown into, I do have a dedicated thing of maybe like 9 or 10 people that come and hang out occasionally. Sometimes they just
Mm.
pass by and say hello. Sometimes they just pass by to drop their monthly subscription or whatever, their Prime sub, and go.
Yeah.
But I've been dabbling in multi-streaming as well. So I've been streaming on YouTube as well as Twitch. That's kind of been my thing. But
Okay.
my ultimate goal, though, I think would be just to yeah, create a community of like-minded people that are just here for the personality, really. But if I can make, let's say, $50 a month or like $100 a month, if I can make enough to buy the video games that I want to play to where like the thing is self-sustaining, because I'm gonna be playing it anyway, so might as well kind of showcase my passion for it. I'm not sure if that exactly answers the question, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that
Yeah.
makes sense. It is. I mean, I will tell you, it is significantly harder to build that base, right? The community base, or let's call it the core, your core community
Hmm.
with multiple games. Because like I remember when I was playing World of Warcraft primarily, right? I want to say anywhere between like 400 to like 600 people
That's
on a
amazing, man.
stream.
That's
Sometimes
amazing.
like yeah, sometimes it'd be a little higher than that on like heavy nights or whatever. Sometimes it'd be a little more, a little less, whatever. But they came for World of Warcraft. When I started when I started playing Heroes of the Storm, when Heroes of the Storm came out and I started kind of streaming that, it dropped like drastically dropped. And like viewership just went down. Then I played Rocket League, but then again, I played a bunch of different games, and I kind of at the time I didn't care. But if you're looking at it from like a business perspective and you want to make money off of here, you want this to be your main income, like you have to. It sucks because you have to like stick to one game
Yeah.
to really impact. And now the thing is that though when you build that core community, you can play other games and you can kind of count like those people will probably be there because they want to hang out. They want to hang out and talk and see what you're up to and kind of watch you fail at a new game because you're gonna suck, or whatever.
Yeah.
But the building that core community, I think you have to probably try to play one game. At
Hmm.
least that was my experience. If I hadn't played World of Warcraft the way I did, I don't know if I would have had that core community kind of follow me into the other the other games. I mean, I think you're doing good because like I log on to your streams all the time and I'm like, hey, what's up? And it seems like you got some people chatting and all this,
Yeah, it's
and you're
great.
and you're you're jumping from game to game, and that's maybe your thing. Maybe that's what they're there to see. Have you done any kind of interactions with your community, like played a game that you could invite your community members to play together or anything like that? I remember
Um,
back when I was streaming, I would do that a lot in World of Warcraft. I'd invite them to do like, battlegrounds and stuff like that, like, and
yeah,
we'd queue up as 10 men and go and do BGs and shit.
man, that sounds fun. I wish I could have joined in on that. I was an undefeatable disciplined priest in my heyday. But man, honestly, I'm open to it. I do have a Discord server where like people come and hang out, just kind of chatting occasionally. Um, but since I've been playing mostly single player games, I haven't got a chance to do that. It's on the time horizon, but it's tough to line up schedules, so I haven't really like delved into a multiplayer game where that's been possible yet, but I am
Mhm.
open to it. Yeah, I am open to that
Yeah.
possibility. It's a great way for community building too, to include people that kind of hang out and support you, you know.
Absolutely, that right there was something that I noticed really helped the channel grow
Hmm.
and get that core set of my community members in
Hmm.
there, right? Like, was the fact that I'm gonna get on and it's gonna be uh, followers, or subscriber BGs. So if you subscribe to the channel, you have a chance to join the next battleground.
Hmm.
And it was made easy because World of Warcraft allowed like cross server invitations to parties and stuff
Yeah,
like that, so I can invite all of them, any of them, and as long as I were in the same faction. But
yeah,
yeah, I did that. I had them where, like, you could, as a subscriber, you could choose the music that played on the channel.
that's great. Yeah.
So while I was streaming, they could like choose the music. Um, it was cool, man. Twitch definitely offered a bunch of little tools to interact with the
Yeah.
community, and that's one of the, I think that's either the, if not the biggest, it's one of the biggest parts of having a successful channel is how much you interact, or you allow your viewers to interact
Hmm.
with what's happening, right?
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Yeah, and WoW had a good platform for that, and also it just creates like, yeah, like people talk about it, they want to be part of it. It's just more of a, yeah, it's you can include the community that way. And to this day, Twitch is still probably like the premier streaming platform. Like when you think of streaming games, you think of Twitch.
Yeah.
They still have that. They built so many amazing tools that they've
Although
expanded on a lot.
you touched a little bit in the beginning about how saturated it is. Have you noticed that
Oh,
it's like very difficult to, like, how long have you been doing the stream
oh
so
man.
far?
See, here's another thing. It's been totally different than your experience, and that's why I was hoping I could pick your brain about some advice for an aspiring streamer or content creator. Man, you don't know how many nights or how many days I've streamed to like zero people, to where it's just been me pretty much for hours, just kind of talking to myself. And I always act like there are people in there because it's one thing well, I'm sorry. What did you ask again? I lost my train of thought. Um.
I'm just saying, like, what kind of difficulties have you noticed? What, while you're streaming and stuff,
Oh
like,
yeah.
like the, like you're touching on it, like the, it's hard to get
Yes.
followers in there, or viewers in there.
Yeah. And
Especially when you're starting off like that.
and man, since it is so saturated, there's like these bots that come in that kind of act like real people. For example, they have like weird names. I'm looking at it here on my thing. Amelia John, Zoe 22330. So they got these like generic usernames, and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? Oh, that's great. What kind of games do you like to play? Oh, wow, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
what's your favorite game? Blah blah blah." And they're like, "Hey, actually, why don't you check out my Discord? I'm a graphic designer and I have some great ideas for your channel. Um, I think it's really gonna help you out. Just trust me. Just come and click on this link and stuff." After a while, it's like, ah, man. So
Yeah.
I get really suspicious. Also, man, the most difficult thing. I'm gonna start doing this in the future, but you can turn on like a sub only mode or like a emote only mode, because
Mhm.
people come and drop spoilers. Like I was playing this game. I won't say what it is for the sake of spoilers, but someone came in that's like, hey, this person will die. This person who you thought was dead is alive. Like this is what will happen. It's like, ah, fuck. And then
You gotta you
you
gotta
can
love people, man.
yeah, it's funny to a certain extent, but the trolling is, it can be kind of tricky.
Yeah.
But
The
that would
only
be, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
that would be the biggest challenge though, man. Is just like you want to do this thing, and I try not to get frustrated because I don't have like some ultimate expectation of like, you know what, I'm gonna reach like 1 million subscribers. It's gonna be great. Sometimes one of the hard lessons to learn too is like you're not guaranteed anything just because you turn on the streaming, and like you're not guaranteed to have like success doing it, you know? And dude, well, my New Year's resolution, and I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I vividly remember the point. I was like, at the very beginning of 2020, I am going to like start a YouTube channel and start streaming, and I'm going to be a content creator, and it's going to be great. So I started the channel, and dude, even today, like I have 800 and like 800 something subscribers on YouTube, and like I think like 270 followers on Twitch. It's just been like minuscule, you know, like
Yeah.
the gains from it. And I've been doing it like for 3 years now,
Yeah.
like
Well,
on
that's the
and
thing,
off.
man.
Yeah.
It's tough reality for, it really is like there's a lot of competition. It's very
Yeah.
saturated. There's a lot of people doing sort of like a similar thing, right? And it's not like it's available to everybody, right? So it'd be different if like you were streaming to your local area only, right?
Yeah,
That's that
exactly.
you'd have probably way more viewership, but the problem is that anybody can go any stream and
Yeah.
watch whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough, man. I remember, when I first started my stream, I had at the time I don't have any social media now. I don't have Instagram, I don't have Twitter, I don't have Facebook, I don't have anything. So I basically I tied my Facebook to Instagram and Twitter. So every time I posted something on Facebook, it would automatically post it on the other two. So I try to like send out alerts of when I was streaming to everybody on my Facebook and all that. I'm sure I
Hmm.
annoyed a shitload of people because some people were probably like, "I'm not into this. Like, shut up."
Yeah.
But and I'm sure I annoyed a ton of people. But I try to do everything possible to bring viewership as much as I could, to the channel. With my YouTube channel, like now I'm looking at it, I might have like 800 subscribers on the YouTube channel. At one point it was like 2600. But people after a while probably, they've unsubscribed and moved on because I haven't uploaded anything into this YouTube channel for years now. Like that's why I
Hmm.
was considering kind of just taking it down. There's no point for it to be up there. Um, but
It's
and then go
it's
ahead.
great that you had a business mindset from the get-go with it, like as far as like viewership and just like a strategy to actually grow the channel. Whereas for me, I'm more, I wouldn't, I'm not sure if naive is the right word, but I always have this like romantic kind of notion of like, I'm just gonna see where it goes, and just start streaming and whatever. But
Yeah.
like you have this plan from the beginning, like this business mindset approach. I
Yeah, yeah,
admire
and
this.
that's how I wanted to approach it because at the time that's what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to kind of break free of the chains of like a regular job and start doing the streaming and see, as soon as I started making money is when I really was like, okay, there's like a potential here to potentially make decent money and
Hmm.
trade it for my current job, right? And then that's
Yeah.
that's kind of how I started treating it. Like I was like, okay, well, how can I convey or generate more leads or viewership,
Hmm.
right? Leads could be created by social media, telling people I stream, the stuff like that, like come check out the stream or whatever. Coworkers, I didn't care who, dude, who I told. Like it was literally like there was no shame in my game. I didn't care who was like, look at this like 20-some-year-old guy like trying to do this on. I didn't care because like of course like the older generation will be like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah,
you're
exactly. That's a
playing
worry that
video
I've
games
had
and
too. That's a worry I've had. Like, oh man, what are they gonna think of this? Or like, maybe I shouldn't tell the people at work. Maybe I should just keep it to myself and just try to reach people that are like-minded.
yeah.
But it's
No,
something you gotta let
I
go.
never cared. I never cared. I truly obviously I care about certain people in my life and what they think, and obviously like in general, I'm not gonna be some rude person or like be an ugly personality to anybody, right? But when I'm doing something and I'm committed to it and I want to make it work, I don't care what people think. They most of the time people are gonna be very pessimistic towards you and very kind of negative about what you're doing, right? Because it's not them doing it.
Hmm.
And maybe they just don't agree with it for whatever reason. Maybe like they have, they hate video games, and you're telling them you're playing video games, and now they're like, oh well, because I hate video games now I hate you. Like, to be honest, I'd never cared what people thought. I just said, hey, I do this. When I get off of here, if I'm at work, I'm like, when I'm out of here, I'm doing that. So you can come check it out whenever you'd like, or if you don't, whatever. Tell your kids. It's a family stream, even though I curse like a freaking sailor. But
No, it's
yeah,
great.
no,
It's great.
I would never care, and that was part of the reason why I think like I did get a lot of viewership early on is because I was just like I put myself very out there, and I dealt with people in the chat being negative and stuff like that, and I have a good way of letting stuff like kind of slide off my shoulders, of being kind of quick witted with a good response, and it was fun. It was fun. It
That's
was
important.
literally, it was fun to kind of shit on some people that were
Yeah.
trying to shit on me.
Man, I will say it's one of those things. It is fun. Like it truly is fun. It's a unique thing. It's a unique way to for me. It's yeah. I wish I had started earlier and kind of when I knew what I was doing. I wanted to touch on this too. Like I in the very beginning, I started streaming in like 2015. I did like a few test streams with my buddy. I had zero idea what I was doing. I didn't know any of the commands. I didn't even like know if I had even set it up right to begin with. And there were people just come in, "Oh man, I rated you and I did this." There was maybe like 30 to 40 people watching. I didn't take it seriously. It was just whatever. But my biggest night, I was streaming EverQuest one time. There's like a classic emulated server that it looks at how the game was in 1999 and it sort of mimics that. So this girl rated me with all of her people. She's like got maybe 20,000 followers or whatever. So for like just a couple minutes, I had like 90 people watching. It was a big spike, and then it spiked back down. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
I'm at the very beginning of my journey. I've learned a lot, obviously, but it like I said, it is like saturated. There's um I'm just some old bald guy playing, but I do have a group of dedicated people, which I really like. So for me, that means a lot because you can be anywhere, on your day off or whatever, but you chose to be here for like a couple hours hanging out with me, and that means a lot.
yeah.
One thing I want to ask you, like throughout your time, did you play with? Because see, whenever you do like competitive PvP or you like we talked about earlier, it really distinguishes good and bad players, let's say, or like once you
Hmm.
reach like a certain ranking, because the ranking system it was crazy. I mean, if you didn't know what you were doing, like you couldn't even touch some of those rankings. So
Yeah.
for you to be put in like this higher echelon of players, let's say, it really opens up a lot of like opportunities to play with like the best of the best. So did you get a chance to interact with, I mean, not only like famous World of Warcraft players, but just streamers in general? Is there anyone that like stood out throughout your time of streaming? We mentioned, I had asked you one time about Rekful, let's say. He was like a
Hmm.
legend in the WoW community. Is there anyone that you got a chance to interact with
Yeah.
throughout the year?
Well, Wreckful for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, he
Wow.
was early on. I like I followed streams as well, and I would watch them stream as well.
He was
There
an
was a lot.
amazing individual. He was an amazing
Yeah,
individual.
absolutely. And there was a lot to learn from him too. Like, he was really, really good. No wasted movement in his gameplay, in his, in judging of the abilities and when to use what. Like, he was like a very good PvP World of Warcraft player to watch, right? So I started off like kind of watching his streams and stuff, and then, I hit him up, in the game. Obviously I'd be talking to him on stream and stuff like that. But I got the chance to like play like actual like do like fun little BGs and stuff with him later on, and he taught me some things. Like learning from his gameplay, I learned a few things. I did get the chance to play with other larger streamers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Swifty.
Yeah.
He was like the very first like content, like World of Warcraft content creator that I ever stumbled upon. I'm sure there was other content creators out there, but Like he was like the first one that I ever stumbled upon, and
Yeah.
I got the chance to interact with him, and kind of like just playing with these guys and playing like at such a high level and watching what they're doing even in the game. Like you learn indirectly from that,
Hmm.
right? So then you get better. Let's see, who else did I end up playing? There was a lot of people, and like some that didn't even create content, but that were so
Yeah.
good that
Yeah.
was like so cool to play with. And they're like Chun Li, like you can look up Chun Li. Chun Li's played a Windwalker monk as well, but Chun Li was always in tournaments. He was in the World of Warcraft like arena world championships and stuff. Like he would play in that. He never created content, but he was on my streams. He was always on my streams, and we would always mess around and kind of like do Windwalker versus Windwalker duels and stuff like that. Like
Man,
it
that's
was fun,
awesome.
man.
That's
Yeah.
really awesome. You make me want to get back into Final Fantasy 14. S-
Yeah,
Man,
that was a good time.
that's great. That's really great.
Yep. Like I said, doing that, you just kind of, you learn indirectly from the players that are better than you. Like you also have to know that, right? Like you're not better than these people. Like they've been doing it for a lot longer. They've been playing for a lot longer. All you can do is just learn from them. I got to a very high level, very high rank, in arenas. It was really really fun. Uh, I had a lot of fun with World of Warcraft, and like looking through my YouTube channel, I see these videos, right, where I'm like doing the arenas and things like that. I've always been a
Yeah.
fan of player versus player,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, those are fun times. Those are really really fun times. A lot of work went into it. A lot of time was put into it, but
Yeah.
overall, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. Trying to figure out like the best optimization. You're a true like min maxer, you know. You want
Oh
to
yeah,
figure out the
like
best you can possibly be and move all that forward. And
yep, I had a keyboard I was using, and I remember it very like distinctly. It was a Logitech 510S, and I remember on the side it basically just had an extra pad with like different keys and whatever. And I remember using that pad and using my thumb to basically hit the shift and control key.
hmm.
So caps lock, so tab, caps lock, shift, and control were modifiers for me, and all the other keys were like abilities or whatever. I was doing something, and
Yeah.
and it was like there was you talk about min maxing. There were keys that were binded to ensure that I just hit that key and it would automatically target the healer,
Hmm.
right? So the healer would be like arena 3 or arena 2, depending on where they are in the group. Once you start the arena, you see it, and I had a key basically that automatically targeted him, so I didn't have to actually target anything before hitting the ability. It all happened at once, and it was again trimming the fat out of the movements,
Yeah.
trimming the lag time between abilities and things like that. There were so many little things you had to do or you
Yeah.
could do to improve your gameplay to make your gameplay just that much better, because that's what it came down to really at the end, was like a sliver of time between you hitting that key and the other guy hitting their key to see who does, like who who
Yeah.
who gets the hit first, basically.
Yeah.
um yeah, it was crazy, man.
No, it's great. Games like that actually, whenever all that stuff started coming out, like MMO mice or, whatever, because back in the day you were playing with like regular computer
Yeah.
peripherals or whatever. And actually, whenever I first met you, you have the same mouse that I have, like this Logitech
Oh yeah.
G502 or whatever.
Yep.
That's the one I'm using as well. And
Yep.
yeah, it's fun, man. It's great. It's great.
Yep.
Wow.
That G502 core was awesome. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on, like the movement, right? When World of Warcraft first came out, and even during like the first few arenas, like people were clickers. There was people that would move with, WASD but click all their abilities with their mouse.
Hmm.
So like a lot of people like were playing the game for a very long time like that. Not I moved with the mouse and hit all my abilities with the keyboard. Where it was like, I when I first started playing, I was moving with WASD and clicking abilities, and a lot of people were playing like that,
Yeah, man.
which is kind of crazy that they were doing competitive arenas like
Yeah,
that.
I'm a bit of a clicker myself. I got pretty far, but yeah, it definitely, you got to get with the shortcuts and the
Oh yeah.
keybinds. It just saves you so much time. Because yeah, like you said, there's been times where I have almost killed the person, but they've killed me first, and it's like, they
Yeah.
probably had something like this, you know.
Yeah,
So
it's an advantage, man. It
it
really
comes
is.
down to literally like seconds or even less than seconds, you know. So
Yep, absolutely.
anything you can do to put yourself at an advantage is
Yep.
great.
Yep. You had to
Yeah.
do those things, otherwise you couldn't set yourself apart. Or like, you notice it when you're stuck at a certain bracket, right? Say you're stuck at like 1900 and you can't get past that, and then all of a sudden you start making these changes, and you're like, oh crap, I have access to this really important ability much faster, and now I'm climbing the ladder again.
Hmm.
So it's again going back to what we were saying. You're improving yourself. It's not the video game getting easier. You're improving yourself because you're the one like thinking of the solution and being resourceful enough to try to change that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man. But
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck, man, with your stream. I know that it's something you love, and you're working hard towards.
Thanks, man.
If I can help in
Thanks.
any way, you let me know.
And I really appreciate it. I'm really trying to find balance. The last thing I'll say on that too is like we've known each other. We've known each other for a while now, and when you first met me, I was totally different. As you see, but for me though, it wasn't worth it because no, I shouldn't say that. But let me be careful how I phrase this. You see, I said earlier, like you're not guaranteed anything, and for me, I was like, all right, I'm gonna hit the ground running. 2020 January 1st, I'm gonna be like a big streamer. It's gonna be great. I have all these plans that I want to do, but like it wasn't worth sacrificing my health. That was one of the main contributors to like
Mhm.
my weight gain was, dude, I would spend late nights just all night long playing, like editing footage, uploading. I'd spend it right here, like in this chair for hours. I
Yeah,
stopped running, I stopped doing everything. And yeah, I mean, look, and now it takes years to recover from that.
yeah.
So nothing is worth sacrificing your health. So for me, like you asked me, what is my ultimate goal? If I can just make enough to like put back into it, let's say like, and now games are expensive. Now they're like $70, whatever. If I can maybe buy one game a month or one game every couple months, that's good enough for me. I don't need to
Yeah.
have millions of people. Devin Nash, someone I really look up to, he's a marketing genius, but he also used to be a Twitch streamer and stuff. Said all you need is like 1,000 true fans, or I think he said you need like 100 true fans, let's say. um you don't need millions,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
people that always share your stuff, upload your stuff or retweet or whatever, or give you their prime sub.
Yep.
That's really all you need. But
And that's right, man. That's right. That's that core community that you're
yeah,
building up.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a really fun, unique way to just showcase your passions, showcase your personality, and just do something you really enjoy doing, and also just create a memory of yourself or like a record of yourself doing what you loved. Because one day we're all gonna be almost like a digital ghosts, they say.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate it, man. It's great to take a deep dive into the mind of Crux, and I'm sure that if this ever goes live somewhere or whatever we decide to do with it, I'm sure you'll have some people come out of the woodwork that were once really passionate about your gameplay and maybe like your guides or your streams. You never know. You never
Yeah,
know.
maybe. That may be pretty cool if they did. I'd definitely say hello.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a few years, man. I don't know if they'd still be looking out for that.
Man, this was great, man. Like you said, we gotta just keep getting our reps in. There's a guy that I follow that he's a good guy. He does Final Fantasy stuff, but he started a podcast recently. They were looking at some statistics. They said most people can't make it past the fifth episode. Every podcast dies, or not every, but the ones that do die, they never make it past episode five. So we gotta at
We're
least
making it
get.
past that for sure, buddy.
And man, I'm thinking to myself, maybe like once a month or once every couple
Yeah,
months. It doesn't have to be like a dedicated. I don't know. We'll
yeah,
see. I'm
yeah,
I'm
for
open
sure.
to the possibilities. Like I said, I'm gonna try to come up with some different topics, And yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
I'll do the same, man. I think once a month, perfect. And it's not, it's not something that's like gonna be like a hard, like a commitment that we have to like. Oh man, we got to do it every time. Like it's just,
Yeah,
it's just gonna flow. Like kind of like how this did. It was just a
yeah,
conversation. We're just gonna flow, and yeah,
yeah.
we'll just have a good conversation.
Okay, great. Well, let's do our sign offs, and then I'm gonna stop the recording. So I'll just
Sounds
say,
good.
guys, thank you very much for watching. This was Slayheim, and I really appreciate you taking the time to enjoy this.
Yep, and see you guys later. This was Crooks, and hope to see you in the next one.
Thanks.